Hi everyone, I'm Dave Bovin. I serve as Dean of the School of Business and Technology at Chipola College. We'd like to welcome you to our weekly tech topic. Today we have our powerful and multidimensional co-host, Ben Bridges, with us. Welcome, Ben.
Glad to be here.
So today we have an exciting topic, but it's also an exciting time on campus. We seem to have all kinds of students wanting to enter the bachelor's program. Just spoke to our registration admissions office just today that there's actually, this may sound like a tough word, but like a backlog. There are students that want to enter our BSBA program and are just working on going through the paperwork. So that's exciting that we kind of reach out and meet people. You know, they touch campus as a healthcare student, as an education student, as a welder, and they find their way to business technology. I guess because we're trying to provide opportunities.
Absolutely.
And some fun stuff. We have our gaming community that you're kind of the heart of. Which led to our topic today almost, right? When you think
Yes.
of building games, what are some of the cornerstones, the core components of building games?
Right, and that is animation, and more importantly, 3D animation.
So our topic today is 3D animation. Makes me think of the early days gone by, of yesteryear, not too far in the past, but 2D animation, something like Pencil. And there were other applications that gave you the ability to, with iPads, with desktops, with laptops, to kind of manipulate in 2D. But 3D is really where it's at today and what's required to really engage the audience in a gaming activity or just in any activity.
Right.
And so there's some 3D ones that have caught your interest recently.
Yes. So for anyone that is interested in getting into the hobby or into the industry of 3D animation, 3D modeling, or game design, there are a few programs I would like to showcase today that I think would be a very helpful program for one to enter that barrier of entry. Because ultimately the biggest hurdle of entering one of these hobbies is actually beginning using one of the programs. So I have a few that I would like to show, and mainly most of them are by Autodesk, and unfortunately this company does charge prices, but if you are a student at Chipola, you can get student versions which allow you to work with the program, I think for 4 years or for as long as you are a student, and will allow you to really learn the program and could even jumpstart a professional career in it.
Yeah, our goal whenever possible is open source software, but this is still a good one.
Right.
And it's one that we use a little bit.
Right. And I do have an open source software as well that I personally recommend over them all, but I would like to show the industry standards before I go into that. So the first one we have is Autodesk Maya. Now you should be able to see my screen right now, and it is essentially the animation one. There are 3 programs I'm going to be covering, and the first one is animation in general. So things like DreamWorks movies, Pixar movies, things like that are normally made in this software. And Autodesk Maya, unfortunately I can't show the engine itself, but here are a few renders and a few examples of what it would look like. Now I personally have used Maya on a different device whenever I was first kind of dabbling with a lot of software, and I personally recommend it if you are planning on going into animation.
What's exciting about modeling and gaming in general is on campus and even virtually we have courses, certificates, an associate degree, a few of them actually in our bachelor's degree, that get you exposure for technology. You know, modeling's a very specific component of that, but if people have an interest in gaming and they want to create games or create kind of a 3D environment, these tools are very good resources, and it's something you can do at Chipola.
Absolutely. And Autodesk Maya is also a very powerful 3D modeler. You can build really anything you want in the world that you create in this program. A lot of people use it to sculpt. You can sculpt in it, you can create models that you can animate, you can add structures to where they react in the physics engine in the specific way you want. Say you want like a thing of Jello, you can have it do the thing that Jello does, or anything like that.
If you think of where we've come from 2D to 3D, we've brought this kind of prop of this really good picture of the United States of America, you know, without Alaska and Hawaii, of course, but it's really good look at the homeland here. And if you wanted to do something with this, the this flat object, if you will. You'd have to use a 2D modeling as a start, but there are some 3D models out there, like Bryce in particular is one of them. I don't know if you had that on your list to talk about. And they have a lot of open source free software that provides landscape in a three-dimensional environment that you can manipulate. Not just like this 2D, but this gives you a starting point. And then you think where you can actually maneuver. Remember, you created a game a few years ago,
Right.
and that was neat. That had very much a 3D feel to it.
It was very fun to make as well. So moving on, the next program is Autodesk 3ds Max. Now this is more of the game design program. This program is extremely, I would say, robust. And whereas Maya is made for general animation and modeling, 3ds Max is made for modeling, animation, and game design in the sense that it's a lot more in detail. And it's made for things that have to react in different ways. Where you know how in animation normally you would program, say, a person to walk and say take a photo off the wall. In 3ds Max you are programming to where you can take the photo off the wall and then have it put it back on and then have the photo fall off the wall or things like that, where the physics engine is very much integral in the part of the animation as a whole.
So if you're playing as a character, say in an environment where that character has to interact with the environment, this would be a good option for that for modeling.
Right. And this, from what I can tell, is the standard for building assets for video games. People build characters, they build objects, they create animations in this, and then they move it over into their game engine, which we will discuss in a later episode. Game engines are an entirely foreign subject at this point.
Very true. What else do you have for us today, Ben?
Right, and so this next one that I will discuss is one that we actually use in our office. And we use this to hand design our own 3D models that we print. You can probably see in the background that we have a few 3D models showcased.
Yeah, that blue snake is one that really catches my interest.
Yes.
Yeah, they actually printed as one piece. That's amazing to have that model in place to be able to do that.
Right, it's amazing. And so Fusion 360 is the program, and it is an integrated CAD, computer-aided design program. And essentially it's less for animation and it's more for designing parts, prototyping parts, and creating things that you would like to have in real life. And I personally have used it. The student version is free, just like all of the other Autodesk softwares, and it creates it's both easy to use and it creates a learning environment that can help you move forward if you would like to go into something like CAD design. I personally have a friend who has gone into CAD design as a career, and he has said that Fusion 360 is his favorite out of them all.
Now, if you'd like to try this and you're ever on campus at Chipola College, our main campus in Marianna, as opposed to our virtual campus, if you will, in the Canvas classroom, at Building Z, our Office 230, that whole suite area, we actually have a 3D printer. We have a laptop set up where we actually can demonstrate the modeling. If you're ever in the neighborhood, please feel free to stop by.
Right.
You might get a chance to see Ben and have him demonstrate a few things.
I would love to do that. And speaking of our 3D printer, we have an Instagram called at Chipola 3D Printer. So if you're ever interested, please drop by on our Instagram, leave a comment or anything, and tell us what you think. So the final program I'd like to cover, and I actually have a demo of this one that I would like to show, is Blender. Blender is an open source program, meaning that it's both free and it is developed by the community. Open source is, in my opinion, there are diamonds in the rough on the internet, and with enough time and with enough community involvement, they can become programs that can really outshine professional private programs.
It gives you a chance to practice, to test out an idea,
Right.
without having to, put down a large overhead cost. Getting a facility, getting a large machine in the software. You can actually test it for free online.
Right, and it's completely free as well. Everything you make within it, everything that you create, everything that this program produces is free and royalty free, and it is extremely, extremely great. Now, Blender is both an animation software and it is a video editor and a compositor and a game engine. So everything that you could want, it's just kind of all compiled into one thing. For example, I have a little cube here, and if I were to render this, render is to essentially create the official image, like the actual image of what you're seeing. And in 3D design, normally you don't see that until you render it because it is more processing heavy. So for example, we have a render of our cube. And as you can see, we can't rotate it because it is the actual frame. And if you were to animate this, it would render each frame and it would create a video.
Yeah, Blender has so many resources. I've seen in online communities of people challenging each other to try to use all the resources in Blender, and I don't even know if that's possible. It's
Right.
very versatile.
It is extremely versatile. And I think that sums up everything that I have to showcase today. Do you have any more thoughts?
No, that was wonderful, Ben. Thanks for sharing those tips and best practices, and thank everyone for tuning in. We look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you.